which has the second best internet connection. I can't be downstairs, which has the best, because I have birds and there, and they're always tweeting.
Oh, Tyler, I love the sound of your birds. I do think Marlon and Tyler bring up a great point that for most of us, we didn't choose our homes based on ever thinking everyone who lived in our homes would be working from home. I have like this screen behind me that I pulled out of a basement to create a barrier because I talk about this all the time, but my house has no doors. So I appreciate you all naming where you're at. I'm going to try to get your numbers up. You can let me know if they do. And I also just want to name that a lot of us spoke about the energy and that the energy from the people in the room matter. Having heard that, you are the people in the room for each other. So bring that energy and we can start supporting each other. All right, Prezi Magic. Let's see if it works. Come on, Prezi. There we go. All right, part 2, we're going to do one more go around. What is your Zoom pet peeve? What drives you crazy and takes you out of facilitating? Some of you might have alluded to it already, but what drives you crazy? I'm going to try to make sure that we hit on them. We hit about ways to prevent them or ways to fix it if it does happen, but I want to know what your pet peeves are. And I'm going to start. For me, it's when you all are doing a wonderful job of not doing this right now, but when there are tons of people unmuted who aren't talking, they just forgot to mute themselves, and there's like chirp, 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 skrrr, like noises in the background. I live in Cambridge, always construction, car alarms, everything. When we're not just like listening to the person and there's unnecessary noise, it drives me bananas and takes me out of facilitating. So I am a quick trigger on the mute people button. When for Danny's training, that was all I did. I just sat there and mute. I'm gonna send it to Byron.
Thank you, Marlise. You kind of stole my thunder there. It's kind of the exact same when someone hasn't put on their mute and they've got lots of background noise and it's just drowning out whoever's speaking. That would be my biggest pet peeve among plenty of others, but I will pass it to Marlon.
My biggest pet peeve would be people not being prepared. Over the summer, I had a few staff that were in my my grade band that would come to their workshops and be unprepared. And the kids can pick up on that very quickly. And it kind of gets boring when you're not prepared. So that would probably be my biggest pet peeve. And I will pass it to Denasia.
Mine is when staff or kids don't communicate what they want or need from me specifically. If they need help or if they need me to do something or if they want a specific activity or don't like a specific activity or want more of a specific activity, but don't say it. It's hard sometimes to read faces, and if they don't show up for those reasons, it's unfortunate. So just that communication. Pass it to Tyler.
Thank you. I guess my pet peeve would be is when people show up and they just don't do anything. They'll have their mic and their camera muted and they're just there not doing anything. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you here if you're not going to be involved with the group at all? And then they'll sometimes go in the chat and they'll type in something random, like we'll be talking about like art and they'll type in like basketball or something like that. So yeah, I guess I'll pass it to Alex.
Thank you, Tyler.
I don't really have much, but the only thing I don't like is if you're not talking and your phone, the screen's unmuted. Like if you don't have the stand, like we shouldn't hear everything that's going on around you.
Yeah.
Who hasn't gone yet? I don't really know who hasn't gone yet.
Larry, Al, Gina, Samara, Lita.
All right, word. Larry, let's get it.
I honestly don't even have any. Yeah, to keep it real, I really don't. Probably go with what everyone else said. A lot of noise in the background, but sometimes you can't control that. So that's why I don't really see it as a problem. It's just like just inform everyone that's what's happening, and then it is what it is. I'll send it to Lita.
Larry, you bring up a good point that like if your camera is down or your audio is really bad or you know there's construction, like just saying out loud, like, this is why it's so loud and I know is helpful.
So disclaimer, Larry, I appreciate you mentioning that because you might hear my son, he's crying right now in the background. But I think for me, it's when it's just the white noise when you're not actually speaking, but you still have your mic on. That's my pet peeve. That's about it though. And is that, who else didn't go? Samara? Is that right?
You can hear my cat. I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't go. I'll go.
All right, Samara.
I also don't really have any pet peeves other than like things you can't control. Like I hate when I have to repeat myself, like or like when somebody's talking and their computer keeps breaking out at like the meat of their comment. It's frustrating, but I'm totally understanding of like Wi-Fi and like people's connections and stuff. Another pet peeve would have to be like if you're in a workshop with the support staff and they're just like sitting on their phone with their camera on. Like talk to the kids, bro. That's it. And I'm passing it to Al. Did you go?
Nope, I'll go now. So I haven't really been using it long enough to find out if I have any pet peeves. So I'd probably just ditto what everyone was saying with like background noise.
Mm-hmm.
Who else needs to go?
Gina, did you go?
No. So my Zoom pet peeves, I think people having their screen off and their mute on and me not knowing what's going on, or even just knowing if they're safe, if they're participating, or just, sometimes people like check out or are not participating. And I think sometimes people are nervous. Like I've had a kid say like, I'm turning my screen off because I don't want you to see me dance. And I'm like, well, that's really sad because we want to see you dance. So I think it's like a security blanket too for some kids. And I think it's kind of figuring which one that is in different situations and which kids like want to be there, but they're just kind of, participating in a different way. And some kids that are just, not following directions and, doing it kind of for other reasons. And I think another thing that we struggled with a lot was parents. And I think this is like, especially with the younger kids more than the older kids, but sometimes we'll be like, hey, this is the activity. These are the directions. And then a parent will jump in and be like, he doesn't have to do any of that. And I'm like, why are you signing your kid up for this? Like, even if it's like if it's a behavioral thing or if it's something that's literally to do with the activity we're doing, sometimes who's ever like home will just dictate what it is, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't really do anything about it because I'm not there. I'm just on the screen. So that's something I think has been a struggle, and I've just been like, I don't even know how to like deal with this.
Well, I haven't, and other folks jump in. I haven't run across too much of that with middle schoolers. It's more the kid being like, I don't have to do this. Thank you, Gina. Has anyone else gone? Or not gone, rather? No? Okay. I will say Samara reminded me of one more, which is when you can like really obviously tell that the person is watching TV right above the computer.
Oh my gosh, it's so annoying. Also, Gina, like I really agree with like the security blanket of like turning your camera off and how we could like not penetrate it, but also just see like how we can get to them without having their face. Kudos.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you all. All right. Come on, Prezi. Okay. So our objectives for today is that by the end of the day, you all will feel confident using Zoom and feel confident seeking support for Zoom. You're not going to be like 100% perfect experts, but my hope is you'll have some ideas of where you can go. You'll increase your knowledge of Zoom, and you'll be able to identify how different Zoom features support developmentally appropriate engagement for youth. So for middle schoolers, for most of you, and for teens, for Larry. We just did our opening. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of like literally what does it look when you're hosting the meeting? What does it look like? Then you all are going to do some exploration in preferences. What can you change? We're going to go over some facilitation, best practices. What does this mean for us and middle schoolers? You all will get a chance to practice some of the skills we're going to talk about. And then we'll do resources, questions, and takeaways. Anything else? There will be a break in there. Anything else that you were like, oh, Marley's, I was hoping I would get to do blah today. No?
I guess Marley's, this is probably geared towards computer Zoom, I imagine. And I think that's right, because the majority use computer. It is a totally different format when you're using phone and that kind of thing.
Yes. So I'm on a computer right now. I used to do this on an iPad, so I know a little bit what it looks like on an iPad. So I'll try to call out when I know when I notice differences. But also if you're on a phone, you can name it too. Like, oh, actually, that doesn't look like that for me, and we can talk about it. I will say the features on a phone are limited as opposed to a computer. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. This is where it gets a little wacky.
This might be a dumb question, but we're using Zoom and not Google.
Yes.
Okay.
Not a dumb question. K through 5 is using Google. 6 through 12 is using Zoom. And
cool.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of things that went into that decision, but I think middle schoolers will be great with Zoom. All right, so in contrast, sorry?
I prefer it, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Me too. I think it's a lot easier to use. All right, so in contrast to what I said before, which was keep your cameras on, please. I'm going to ask you to all turn your cameras off because I'm going to share my screen and you will see a million of yourself. So turn your camera off because I'm going to share my Zoom screen. Thank you all. All right. I'm going to do a walkthrough and I am just going to ask that you all ask questions and slow me down as needed. Sound good? You're going to have to respond like with emojis or voices or something because I can't see your faces anymore. Thank you. Thumbs up.
I got you.
Thank you, Larry. All right. So what do you all see right now?
Clouds, pink clouds.
Pink clouds.
Welcome to my desktop.
Both of them, right?
Are you able to see the screen share at the top? No?
Yeah. It says you are viewing Marlise West's screen.
Okay. But it doesn't show you what the control buttons are. Annoying, but that's all right. Let me try it one more way. All right. That's what's happening. So when I am sharing my screen, I'll do it this way. When I'm sharing my screen, there's that little green button that you all have at the bottom of your screen that says share screen. Y'all see it? I lied to you. You can turn your cameras back on. Thank you, friends. So what I was hoping was that, because on an iPad it does this, you can share the screen and see the Zoom window. You can't do that on a computer. So that's the first thing to know. You can't share your Zoom screen. What I see on the bottom, but we can still do it. You'll just have to follow along. On the bottom of my screen, and you can move where it is in preferences, there's a button that says share screen. Everybody found it?
Yep.
Thank you. If you click share screen, you get a bunch of options. You get a bunch of options that look like this. I just had one of those moments where I made such a good choice. All right. So you get a bunch of options that look like this when you press share screen. At the bottom, there's share computer sound and optimize screen share for video clip. If you're going to be sharing sound, like if you're playing music during a break or you just want to share a video clip, make sure that you check these things because otherwise you'll start playing your clip and all they'll see is the clip and they won't hear it. All the options of what are on your desktop shows up. So I have like a bunch of sticky notes. This is Prezi. You can also connect via cable or via AirPlay. You can also do a whiteboard. And this is just the desktop. If you click, sorry, there's going to be a lot of sharing, not sharing happening. If you click share screen and then you click advanced at the top, it gives you 4 options. Slides as virtual background. So that would put your like Google slides behind or your PowerPoint slides behind you. Portion of the screen, only music or computer sound. So if you just wanted to play a song without a clip, and content from a second camera. That's all advanced at the top. Make sense? Can someone try to share their screen right now? You don't have to do it, just what happens when you click that button.
Says only the host can share the screen.
Yeah, we're not allowed to.
So, perfect, that's what I wanted. If you are the host, there's a little green arrow next to share screen. And in that, right now I have checked 1 participant can share at a time. I can check it so that multiple participants can share simultaneously. So that means that like Larry and I could share both our screens at once. And below that, if I clicked advanced sharing settings, here, I'm going to show you guys. It looks like this. All right.
You take a picture?
I did. I'm like taking pictures so that then
I thought the same thing too. I was like, yeah, she's taking screenshots.
I'm taking a screenshot so that then I can show it to you guys because I realized that otherwise you were never going to be able to see it. That was my like, wow, I had a good idea moment. Okay, so this is what it looks like if you press, sorry, Larry, you're in the background with me making a concentrating face. If you press advanced sharing options, then you can change it so that multiple participants can share simultaneously. To be honest with you guys, I've never used that one. I wouldn't suggest clicking it. And then who can share? You can change it to be all participants. So if I go do that now, can I get a volunteer to try to share?
I'll do it.
Thanks, Lita. You should be able to do it now.
Got it. And you want me to share something on my screen?
Sure.
Okey doke.
That wasn't of you guys. None of these pictures are of you guys. Perfect. So then Lita can share. My recommendation, and I'll talk more about this later, is to always start when you're with young people with only the host can share. Get a sense of who your young people are, get a sense of where they're at that day in terms of regulation, in terms of following directions, and then give them permission to share. Make sense? All right. Lita, could you stop sharing, please?
Of course.
Thank you. The other thing I wanted us to look at is over here. Is the participant bar. So if you are supporting or if you're facilitating by yourself, like I am today, pretty much always have this participant bar open because you can see the 2 people talking were the only ones unmuted. In that participant bar, which you can also access while you're sharing your screen, you can also have mute all is at the bottom. That's where you can get the invite. Actually, anyone can get the invite. So if someone texts you and is like, Marley's forgot to send me the link, you can just forward it to them and copy it from there. That's also where you can rename people's names. If you hover your mouse over it, 3 dots come up. So in Danny's training the other day, if people weren't able to rename themselves, I renamed them so that they had 6 to 8 next to their name. Make sense? Anything else about participants you guys want to know about or have questions about? I can mute you all. I just muted all of you. I can also click when you press mute all, there's a box that says allow participants to unmute themselves. Right now, anyone who wanted to talk could unmute themselves. But if I unclick it and mute you all again, somebody try to talk. Oh no, you can't talk. This is awful. Now I'm by myself. I'm not really enjoying this. But now you should be able to unmute yourself should you want to. Make sense? Yeah. All right. In that screen share box, I also want to highlight there is a whiteboard. We discovered last spring that sometimes that whiteboard doesn't show up if you're on certain devices or if you have a certain kind of account. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is to it, but I have a like a website you can use that a young person gave me if the whiteboard doesn't show up. Any other walkthrough things you wanted before I talk about breakout rooms? Okay. So breakout rooms, you can only do, Byron, this is one of the features that I spoke about where you can only do it on a computer. It's actually why I bought a computer, because I wanted to be able to do breakout rooms. That's ridiculous. It's not great, but you can only do it on a computer. So just when you're communicating with whoever you're co-facilitating with, make sure that if you're gonna do breakout rooms, one of you needs to have a computer. So for breakout rooms, this is what it looks like. You click breakout rooms, again at that bottom control bar on the bottom of your screen, and it asks you the number of breakout rooms. If you click assign manual, automatically it'll just put people in breakout rooms. And if you click assign manually, can you guys see that? Yeah, you can see my whole screen, right? Okay, it'll look like this. So right now I have 2 rooms and I would just check whomever I wanted to be in that room and then open all the rooms. Make sense? This is, and you might have heard me talk about it before, my pet peeve with breakout rooms is if you are facilitating and you send me to a breakout room and then you send me the all really long paragraph of directions in the broadcast. So if I'm managing breakout rooms, I can broadcast a message to all of you, but it comes up at the, you've all seen it, right? Like it comes up at the top of the screen really tiny. It's hard to read. So the best practice that I've created is either do what Danny did and ask people to screenshot or take a picture of the questions, or once everyone is in breakout rooms, any of the hosts can pop in and out of breakout rooms. So I'll pop in to Byron's breakout room, give him, hit the directions in the chat, and then pop over to Alex's and then Marlon's and so on. Because if you want them, okay.
I'm sorry. So I just wanted to, we spoke yesterday, and correct me if I'm wrong, in order to access some of these features, because when I went down to the bottom of my bar, I don't have the option for breakout rooms. Now, I believe that's because I'm on the app and not the actual site, right?
Lita, beautiful, wonderful transition you just did for me. So, the next activity that we're going to do is going to be playing with your preferences on the web browser. I have a link I'm about to send you. My question for you all, though, before we do that is, first of all, who's using a phone? And actually, that doesn't matter. Does anyone not have an account? So you don't have a Zoom account with your like contact information attached to it. You're just like joining. Denasia? Okay. Anyone else? No? Wonderful. All right. So Denasia, when I send everyone to go play for 5 minutes, just check in with me, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any other Zoom button questions that you've just had burning in your head? You're like, how the heck do they do that? I know that I go super fast. I'm a speedy talker. However, this is going to be a recording and you're going to get the Prezi. So if you are stuck, you can always message me. You can always look back at the presentation and where I walked you through it, or you can Google it and we'll talk more about resources as we go. Sound good? I have to tell you all, because this is my experience, my heat just came on and it smells like burning and I'm so distracted by it. So that's where I'm at. All right. Prezi, come on. Okay. So next, oh, come on, Prezi. We are going to look at Zoom settings. So you are all going to go to this link, except for Denasia, who's going to stay and check in with me, zoom.us /profile/setting. You're going to explore the preferences. There are a bunch of preferences. That's where you can decide who can chat each other. That's where you can decide what your waiting room message says. I hosted a virtual baby shower, and so my waiting room message said, "Welcome to the baby shower. Marley's will let you in a minute." And then I forgot to take it off. So then a bunch of people came to a professional meeting and they were like, "Why am I coming to a baby shower?" There's tons of things you can do in preferences. You're going to explore for 5 minutes and bring back one of the following: something that surprised you, something you have a question about, something you couldn't find, and something you're glad Zoom can do that you didn't know before. Any questions about that? I'm going to take your silence as a no.
Do we need to take a picture of this for the question?
I'm going to leave it up, but you can if you'd want to, actually. That'd be great. It's never a bad idea. All right. So let me, oh, my screen sharing just paused. If you go away from the file that you were looking at, your screen sharing will pause. Let me put the link in the chat. You will have to log in. And everyone. All right. So spoilers for my lesson planning training on Monday, but I am really obsessed with a time cube for keeping time. It's literally the simplest thing ever. It's just a timer that you turn and then it sets a timer. So I'm going to set a timer. Hi, Nelson, for 5 minutes, and you can turn your screens off, mute yourself, come back with one of the answers to those questions, but really go play in the settings. You can't mess anything up. Like, seriously, just go play and see what is available to you. If you have a paid account or a free account, some different settings might show up and might not. Come back with the answer to one of these questions. Who would like to start? What did you find in your exploration of the preferences? And could you also tell me, had you looked at the preferences before? I'm just curious. Anyone can start.
So I'm gonna be really honest. I felt like I need more time.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go to find the preferences? Like, I seen all these different, like, the left-hand side, there was all these different options. It was like meetings and like manage breakout rooms and whatnot.
So thank you for the reminder. So you have tons of different options for preferences here. Did other people feel similar to Lita, that they needed more time?
Yeah, because I started later than other people.
Danae's Zoom account is exactly like 10 minutes old. So did anyone else feel like you needed more time, or you felt like you got a lot out of it? You got enough?
I feel like once I'm on an actual computer, it'll be a lot better and different for me.
That's definitely the case. Lita, I hear you. My hope is that when you hear what other people found, maybe it'll like spark your consciousness a little bit. I'll also say that the way that I learned Zoom was I just went and played in the preferences, and I spent a really long time doing it, and I figured it out. And that's one of the things I want you all to walk away from today, is that, like, no one is going to teach you like step by step how to give you a custom waiting room message. You might just have to play with it and figure it out. But something that I've observed in technology and in what makes technology harder for folks to grasp sometimes is like a kind of anxiety or fear that makes us then not curious. And some of it is just like letting yourself be curious about Zoom. You can't mess it up. There's nothing to mess up. It's your account. You can't mess it up. But you have to just play in it. So, Lita, we're going to come back to you. Someone else share it, and I'll pull up whatever it is you're talking about as we go through.
I guess Marley's only allow authenticated users to join through web client, somewhere near the top.
Oh, here it is.
The question I had for you is that, you know, we've always heard these horror stories about randos joining different Zoom meetings and putting up, I don't know, pornography or whatever it is, you know. Is there anything that you guys have learned or like to control who will join our Zoom meetings?
So yes and no. The number one thing that everyone should always have is have your waiting room on.
Okay.
That's the first. I've had maybe one time when someone went into the waiting room and their name was just like the name of an iPhone. And I was like, I'm taking a chance and letting them in. And it was a kid I was dying to see. So that's the main, honestly, safeguard is to have your Zoom waiting room on. Always. Authenticated users I wouldn't turn on in case people don't have an account. Like I wanted Denasia in this meeting, even though she didn't have a Zoom account until 10 minutes ago. But that's a great question, Byron. It's never happened to me. I've heard it happening to people. It can happen. My hope is that it doesn't happen. And if it does, you will remove that user immediately. And that's part of why you always have 2 adults in a room as well. So my hope is that it wouldn't happen, but I also trust you all that we'll be able to process whatever happens with young people if we need to, because even all the security in the world, we can't control the internet and we are existing on the internet. So that's a great question. But my main tip is just have your waiting room on. And if someone has a name that you like totally don't know, don't let them in. And
Makes sense.
you can message the waiting room as well. You can press send a message to the waiting room and say like, hey, I'm not sure who you are. Can you change your name to your name?
Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Marlise.
Byron, can you pass it to the next person, please?
I can. I will pass it to Ty T Money Grip, Tyler.
All right. Thank you, Byronius. Well, anyways, I think the most interesting thing I saw is actually on the screen is the whole required passcode for participants joining by phone. And I thought that was kind of interesting because it's like because I thought that was unique that you need it to join using a code if you're using Zoom on a specific device.
So that is a really good point. You who are on a phone today, you didn't have to put in a password to get into this Zoom meeting, right?
No.
No, because you sent the link.
So again, I don't know everything, but I'm pretty sure that means that if you are joining like your Zoom audio, so when Zoom pops up, you can say use like join via the internet or join via phone. My boyfriend does this all the time because for whatever reason, his headphones don't work that well. So he will call into a meeting and his audio then is separate than his video. In that situation, he would have to type in a code. So it's not about like joining on the Zoom app on your phone. It's about dialing in. Make sense? That's a great question, Tyler. Thank you. Who is next?
Oh, do I pass it?
Yes, please.
All right. I guess I'll pass it to Gina.
So there was a lot of settings that I was not aware of. Like maybe I was aware of them, but I've never gone to this page and changed a bunch of them. And then there was something that I was seeing that I'm trying to remember exactly what it was called, but I mean, I turned on a bunch of stuff like co-host, polling, breakout rooms, and all of these things, and whiteboard. Man, I can't remember the thing that I was gonna ask, so you may have to come back to me.
We can absolutely come back to you. I'm going to use you as an example. So you turned on co-hosts, another one that everyone should have on. If I'm in a Zoom with another staff, which I always will be, I'll always make them the co-host. That way, if my internet goes out, they can keep leading the meeting. They can chat individuals. They have the power to share their screen. Best practice, make the other staff in the room a co-host. So everyone should have this one on. The other one I want to, oh, go ahead.
Do you have to turn it on each time, or is it once you have it? Okay, perfect.
The other one I will say is right now I have private chat on because you all are adults. As soon as we're meeting with young people, I'm turning this off.
Wait, what was it?
Private chat.
Oh, yeah.
So right now, if Alex wants to message Denasia, he can say, hi, Denasia, how are you? Da, 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 da. I will get it after though. So that's like best practice is always just to assume that if you're in a Zoom and there's a chat, the host is getting it after. How often the host is like reviewing that chat, I don't know, but you have to imagine that every time you're having a conversation, even if it's an individual chat, it's you. Hi, Nelson. Oh my God, he's so cute. It's you, the person you're chatting, and the host. You have to remember that it's really 3 people always. Any other questions about chat while I'm there?
I'm going to go ahead and turn that off.
You definitely, as soon as we're working with young people, we should all have that off because we can't in real time monitor what they're saying to one another. You can only check it after. Gina, can you pass it to the next person?
Let's see. Alex?
Yeah. The only thing I've looked at that like shocked me is the fact that like you could allow participants to join before the host. That isn't an option in there. I forgot where I seen it, but when I was going through the setting, it's you could turn it off and on. I'm like, I wonder how that works though. Like everybody just meets you there and then the host just comes after, or
Alex, I can't find it. I'm so glad you said that one. We all need to have that off for young people, right? We don't want them hanging out without us. They can do that on FaceTime or any of the zillion of other ways they have to contact each other. I think, Alex, like when you might want that on, is if...
Just pass it. It was down below.
Huh?
It was at the bottom. You passed it.
Thank you, Denasia.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm not going to watch you all watch me scroll this. But if Lead and I were having a meeting with all the leads, or the leads were having a meeting with their supports or something, I don't know, and someone was going to be 5 minutes late, I would put that on so that you all are adults. You can talk amongst yourselves while you wait. That's totally fine. But with young people, we definitely want to have that off. Thank you, Alex. It's a great one. Can you send it to the next person?
who hasn't gone yet?
Make a noise, wave the hand.
I can go.
Who just said that? I don't know who said that.
My question, I don't know if I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I know for the Zooms, there's like time frames you can set for them or just like kicks you out. Is there a way to control that so that doesn't happen? Or
So yes and no. This is where it gets like, yes, the city should have just given us all Zoom accounts and they didn't. So when I schedule a meeting, I think you guys can even see over here. When I schedule a meeting, I have like this lesson planning meeting. It's scheduled for 2.5 hours, as is today. It's not going 2.5 hours, just so you all know, but I schedule it for a time. If I go over that time because I have a paid account through the city, I did not pay for it, the city paid for it, it can go farther than that time. Nothing happens. If, Denasia, you were just meeting with Samara, it was just the 2 of you with your free account, you could go for as long as you wanted. If it was you, me, and Samara, it might kick us out after 40 minutes. It might not, but it might. So that's another thing to think about, and we'll talk about as a group and as to how we schedule meetings and events for young people in terms of making sure that if the event is scheduled to go over an hour, we have an account that is able to do that.
okay.
So what Zoom says is basically the 40-minute limit is their option to kick you out if the server's too busy. They don't have to if it's a down moment, but it has happened to me.
Okay.
Should we make a list of people that have pro accounts and free accounts?
That is a great idea, Gina. That might be something that we do next week when we're collecting lots and lots and lots of information from all of you. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Denasia, do you want to send it to the next person? Actually, think on who you want to send it to. I just want to point out one more thing. Your personal room. This is my personal room. This is the meeting ID that if I copy the invitation, that's my personal room forever. So anytime going forward that I start a personal room, anyone who has that link could join. Now, like, if I like am having a Zoom birthday party for my cousin, Marlon, you can come if you have this link, but I mean, I don't know why you would, but you can. So we won't be using, I would suggest not using your personal meeting room with young people, because then they could, in theory, click it and try to join any event you have from your personal room. Whereas if you make events, only the people who have this Zoom training like week link, which is all of you, can come. Does that make sense? I just wanted to highlight that. Thanks, Samara. Denasia, can you pass it? I don't think Marlon has gone. I don't think Samara has gone. Al, forgive me. I can't remember if you've gone. You said you're going to have a lot more on your phone, on your computer.
Pass to Marlon.
Me, I didn't really learn much. I'm pretty versed in it already, but I'm on my phone, so they don't give you a lot of capabilities through the phone. So that's why I didn't really have much to do.
That's real. I mean, I told you guys, like, I have a massive, I'll show you. I have a massive, like, computer-sized iPad that got me all the way through grad school. And like 4 months into COVID, I was like, wait, shoot, my iPad doesn't work, like, isn't enough anymore. I think that's a real flaw in terms of equity and access with Zoom. It's excellent that you can join from your phone. And that's excellent for our young people. In theory, they should all have Chromebooks, so they should be able to access more of it. But it's a real flaw of Zoom that you can't, like, why can't you do a breakout room from your phone? I can't think of a good reason.
Yeah, I know over the summer, a lot of kids were using their phones as well. So I don't.
They can still join breakout rooms, but they just can't make them.
Yeah.
Luckily, you can still join. Thank you, Marlon.
And who didn't go?
We're just sharing what we learned.
Something you learned or noticed or had a question about or surprised you.
So I'll pass it to Samara.
Thanks, Marlon. One thing that, I mean, I guess one thing that surprised me is that you can like set a time for the meeting, and like even if you have people scheduled for a certain time, that'll like solidify the timeline, like what you just went over. Basically, like if you scheduled the meeting for 2 hours, you can have it for as much time as you need to. Like you can overschedule essentially
with a paid account.
Yeah. Luckily I have one.
Thank you, Samara. Gina, did you think of your question? It's okay if you didn't. All right, I'm gonna guess you didn't. Okay. Just to,
I think it was about things that you can save, like that you can save the chat and you can save, like, you can do all the recordings and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I want to be able to save those things, but I don't necessarily want everybody to be able to have access to that. So yeah, I was kind of looking at those settings and kind of figuring out what I need to have turned on and what I don't. But yeah, you also answered some other questions.
I would say that's a great point. Preventing participants from saving the chat. Again, you're all adults, so I don't care if you save the chat. Do you, whatever you want. But I would have that turned off for young people. I also, for young people, would not have file transfer on. I don't want them to be able to send files. Some of these are just personal preference, Zoom windows. Oh, wait, I bet if I turned that on, then you guys could have seen my Zoom window. Desktop and screen share. Some of these are ones you can change. Annotation, remote control, nonverbal feedback. That's how you're able to give the emojis, the emoji communication. Always have this on so that they can rename themselves. Anything else you were surprised about or had questions about?
I had a question about the breakout rooms. Is it, I guess not easy, but how do you how do you go into different breakout rooms?
So, great question. I can't. Hold on 2 seconds, Denasia, because I can answer it in picture form. All right. And then you guys are going to get a chance to try all these things later. So you'll get to try. But basically, once I've opened all these rooms, assigned you all to them, this breakout rooms tab basically still shows up. You just click this and then you can join it, basically. A little button comes up instead of a sign that says join, and you're just like popping in and out. Feel really powerful, and like you're it's like as close to walking around as you can get in real life. All right. Thank you all. I would encourage you, if you felt like that wasn't enough time, if you felt like other people, you had no idea what someone else was talking about, 1, you can ask them about it. And 2, just give yourself permission to like play in that Zoom space. I'll send out a document Monday probably with like where our preferences should be for young people and just in terms of safety. And we'll talk more about it later as well. All right, back to Prezi. How's everyone doing? Lisa's got some thumbs up. How everyone else is? Thank you for the thumbs up. I need like some feedback. Okay, thank you. Those of you who gave me some feedback. We already shared out. All right, we're gonna take a break. Go do something for yourself. Be back here in 10. I'll flip my time cube. Just take a minute. See you at 11:20. I like even numbers, so take until 11:20. Thank you, Marlon. Gina asked, are we using our Cambridge emails? So actually, Lita and I were just talking about this. I know Marlon has one. If anyone has a cambridgema.gov email, so a city email versus a school email, I have a hypothesis, I don't know if it's right, that might give you, if you sign up for that, Zoom will think you're a teacher and give you a unlimited account. So if you have that, it's worth a look. Otherwise, you can use if you have a CPSD account, you can use that. You don't have to. Oh, somehow we lost Byron, but he's back.
So I have one of those really weird emails they made us for the summer.
A CPSD one, yeah.
Do we have to use that?
You do not have to use that if you don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not going to make anyone type that name in. It's ridiculous.
It was. Also, it was really like restricting, but for Zoom, I know it's different. So yeah, I didn't know if that was like a requirement or if they were just like, you can use whatever your regular work email is.
Nope. And some people didn't work this summer, so they don't have those emails too.
Cool.
Yeah, so if you happen to be someone who has a cambridgema.gov email, try it. It might give you an unlimited account. My account, I'll show you guys. This is what I was just telling Lita. My account at the top right now says Zoom has removed the 40-minute time limit for schools. The meeting limit on your basic account has been lifted. So Zoom thinks I'm a school, which I'm fine with. And that gave me access to an unlimited account. So worth a try for sure. All right. How's everyone doing? Good, medium, thumbs up. Thank you for the people who are like giving me something. I appreciate you. All right. Back to my beautiful Prezi. I know it pretty much just looks like a slideshow, but I'm here for it. All right. So what does this mean for our work? Drawing from your experiences, what makes Zoom work for middle schoolers? Do you have any facilitation tips, ways of doing things, ways of being? We've talked a lot about Zoom settings, and I'm going to send that out later, but I want to know what in y'all's experience has worked. Both in terms of this technical side of Zoom and also what have you done on Zoom that has been successful in getting middle schoolers engaged or not?
Kahoot.
Sorry,
Kahoot.
Samara, can you say that again? I talked over you.
Sorry. Kahoot. I have a mask on.
Love Kahoot.
Do you know what that is? Yeah, they love that.
Can you tell folks who might not know what that is?
Kahoot is basically a trivia game. The topic could be anything from like astrology to foreign cuisine, and it's like a quiz, and everybody can access it from their own computer. And the cool thing about it is like whoever's hosting it, like they share the question. So the screen will show the question, and on the kid's phone or their computer, they can they can answer the question that's on the board. So it's really interactive. The questions are funny, and you can do any topic. So it's been really helpful in the moments that were like super dry and boring.
Tyler did it with us this summer, and despite my best efforts, I never won, and I'm still pretty upset about it. Other things that have worked on Zoom or specifically with Zoom.
To bounce off that, I think Scribble.io too worked with Zoom. But there was a problem I know over the summer that some computers, especially like the school computers, didn't allow kids to use it. So
Can you say what it was again?
Scribble.io.
Oh,
but I think
yes.
Yeah, but with Zoom, I think which is going to be helpful is that we can use the whiteboard.
Yeah.
So we can do like a Pictionary version of that. So I think that's going to be adjacent or just as fun.
And Tyler, maybe you remember what it is. Oliver Henke gave us a whiteboard that's web-based that did work with Google. So we had that as an option too, but definitely moments for interactive drawing is important. Alex, do you want to go?
I was gonna say taking suggestions from the kid, because during the summer we definitely asked them every time we were about to finish off, we're just like any suggestions with ideas, just so we have something to think about, something to like aim for next time.
Youth voice matters. Choice matters. My hope is that in the program that we are going to, as a team, create, we will be creating lots and lots and lots and lots of opportunities for youth voice and youth choice, especially in these pandemical times where they have so much less choice than they did before. Other things that have worked before I give
Well,
you.
for me, Marlise, it was designing workshops that encouraged the youth to get out of their seats and not just be sitting there sedentary, staring at the screen the whole time. I had a kind of a scavenger hunt workshop that had them get out of their seats and go around and find something from their house and bring it back and describe it. Then we also had charades or different things like that where they could just get up and move around, and that gave them more energy just moving around. And so not directly related to like Zoom stuff, but just kind of workshops that kind of help out when you're sitting around using Zoom.
I think that's a great point. Zoom can feel very technological, and I know this training is literally just technology, but don't limit your ideas. You can say, leave your cameras here and go find something. Please, though, I can't stand people running with their cameras and it bouncing around, especially kids, because they have no camera knowledge. So leave the cameras here. But yeah, anything else? Last thoughts?
I guess the shell game.
Oh my gosh. Can you tell them what it is, Tyler?
Yeah. Basically, I put 3 cups down, put an object in one of the cups, shuffle it around, and have the youth guess which cup it is.
He makes it sound so simple. I don't know why. That was the most fun we ever had all summer. We get all so into it. Thank you, Tyler. Oh, I love the shell game. Another thing I'll add that I did this summer, and again, I'm scoping myself for the lesson planning workshop, was live Google slide collages. So that we're having a discussion, and if Denasia gives an idea, I'm putting it in the collage, and then she can be like, oh my God, my idea is part of the collage. And it becomes kind of a great scrapbook of whatever our time together was. Any other thoughts?
One more. What Marlon just reminded, I think it was Marlon, he said he has the kids get up and do, oh no, Byron, they get up and do something physical. During my community meetings, I'd have them challenge themselves. So the first day, Monday, we do how many crunches can you do in 30 seconds, and then by Friday we see if we improved at all. So that was super fun, especially for a kid like Eves who's super competitive. So yeah.
I think almost everyone at the beginning spoke about how Zoom can take a hit on your energy if not everyone is bringing the best energy. And part of what you're saying, Smar, is moving your physical body, and Byron, you too, gives you more energy. And it's a great way too to break up the monotony of just staring at a screen, because I know it's a long, I can feel it drain my energy. Yesterday, Lita and I were meeting, and I was like, my eyes don't work anymore. I can't look at the screen. Thank you, guys.
Another interesting thing, we did during the summer, and there were times where we had workshops where we'd explain things to the kids, whether it's arts and crafts or beats making, and we'd give them, time off Zoom, 20, 30 minutes to work on that themselves without, being on camera. And so that's another idea to kind of keep, kids from just getting bored with the screen time, give them activities and then enable them to do it on their own and then come back and present it without having to be logged on the whole time.
That's another great practice. I would very much recommend offering choice in those moments. There might be young people who really do just want to spend 20 or 30 minutes working by themselves. And there might be a young person who wants to spend 20 or 30 minutes working with Alex's face on his screen. That's another tool you can use breakout rooms for. You can say, all right, if you are interested in working silently, but with your camera on with a bunch of other people, that's breakout room 1. If you're interested in working with me and we're going to talk, that's breakout room 2. And if you're interested in just going off and doing your own thing, that's breakout room 3. And you're just going to turn your cameras off and be muted. That's another great tool you can use breakout rooms for. It also lets you know, like, oh, Al really likes working with a group, or Tyler only wants to work by himself. It gives you some options.
I think that also it speaks to what Gina had mentioned earlier about some young people kind of being camera shy or not necessarily being confident in showing off their skills. I love the fact that they could, turn off their camera, still be present, practice their dance, get comfortable. And then if they wanted to actually share their dance, they could, but at least they can have some space to practice, even if they don't want to share. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you, Lita. Again, it's like we planned the transitions, but we didn't. One thing I want to say before I transition to best practices is just speaking of, sometimes it can be hard to look at your own face. There's some young people who aren't going to want to have to see their face on camera, and that's why they're not showing. They're putting their camera on. We still want to see their faces. So there is an option on Zoom where you can click hide self view. You hover over those 3 dots in the corner of your screen, and then you click on hide self view, and then you can't see yourself, but everyone else can still see yourself. I'll be honest, I'll share something about myself with all of you. I have a really hard time not looking at myself if I'm on screen. Being completely honest, I love you all. I'm trying to look at you. I'm checking, making sure who's paying attention. All right, I see. Okay. But then I come back to looking at myself. It's really hard not to. So for me, sometimes it's a good idea to hide self view, but definitely offer that as a option to young people as well. If they are feeling like they don't want to be on camera for a me looking at me reason, not a you looking at me. All right, tips and best practices. My cat has decided to join this Zoom. Can I get someone to read the first one?
I can. Share with screen share off. You can change it after.
Again, it'll be in that document I set out, but we don't want young people to be able to come on and share their screen and you find out that young person's having a really bad day and following 0 directions. Next one.
Is that me again?
Can be.
Chat the group or host, not each other.
Self-explanatory. Y'all gotta help me out. I can't listen to my own voice read all these things.
Greet use as you come in.
As they come in, say, hi, hello, Al. Nice to see you. Oh my gosh. Gina, you're looking really your hair looks great today. Alex, I'm just already loving your energy. Greet them just like you would in the youth center. It matters. It can sometimes be hard not to try to interrupt someone, but feels really bad to me, at least when I go into a Zoom and I'm like, well, I'm here, but nobody has recognized that am I here? What's going on? Say hello as they come in. Next one.
Staff cameras on, invite and encourage you to do the same.
As we said, I know that for you all, there's sometimes going to be moments that you have to turn your camera off. For me, it's usually my boyfriend Joe didn't know I was on screen and I have to tell him to go back downstairs, or my cat is walking on my computer. Some of you know, love Instagram data. I love thinking about social media. I think it's a powerful tool, and the data that I have from Frisoli in the spring tells me that young people interact with Instagram posts way more if they could see your faces. So by you having your bright and shining smiling face on the screen, you are encouraging young people to participate. It's a lot easier to ignore a gray box. That said, we know there's going to be certain moments when you have to turn your camera off, and that's okay. And same for youth. I know there's going to be certain moments when like their house, they're not comfortable sharing, or family members told them they can't turn their screen on, and that's okay too. But invite and encourage them to do the same. And to do that, we have to be modeling it. Next one.
Pull up everything you might share before the meeting.
Marlon already covered this. It's really frustrating when people aren't prepared. Just have it already. Have your tabs ready to go. This one I'm going to read because I'm going to talk through it as I read it. Stay in that participation tab. If co-facilitating, whomever is not facilitating that moment, keeps an eye on the waiting room, you can update people, you can message them, you can let them in, you cannot let them in if you don't know who they are. Who's muted? Please mute everyone if nobody needs to be talking. Ask to unmute. If I am concerned that I have not heard from Alex in a long time, I can click ask to unmute. I just clicked it. Alex, did something pop up on your screen?
Yeah, the like stay muted and unmute thing popped up.
That is a simple, like no words way to just be like, hey, Lita, I really want to hear from you. I don't even have to say it out loud. I can just say, ask her to unmute. You can unmute. You don't have to. I'm just doing it as a test. But use that. That's another one of those like technological behavior tools that you can do. And it doesn't like put young people on the spot. It doesn't necessarily embarrass them. It doesn't call out the fact that they haven't been talking. It just says, hey, Tyler, you could unmute. Monitor the chat and emoji communication throughout this moment. I've asked you all at certain times to like put up a thumbs up visually or with the emoji. Monitor that. You can also raise a hand. You can communicate through that. And if you are the person who's not actively facilitating the activity, you can be monitoring all that so that the person facilitating can focus on facilitating.
Can I say one thing?
Sure thing.
One thing I learned that is also really important to keep track of is their icons, like the pictures that they choose to represent themselves. Sometimes they get a little carried away, and I find that in the school especially, they have like pictures of like grown men smoking cigarettes as their avies. So just keep an extra eye out for those.
That is a wonderful point. I've also seen them change their names to not inappropriate things, just like funny things. And in the Zoom settings, there's also an option that to hide the people's profile pictures if you'd like it. I will also say that like make sure you have an appropriate profile picture if you have one that young people can see, because the moment you turn your camera off, they can see your profile picture. But you can turn that setting off in your settings. I would say that's not like a must do, but that's an option. I'm going to talk more about the facilitator, co-facilitator relationship on Monday, but I do want to name, like, it's a lot, right? Like, it's a lot to be doing all the tech and facilitating. And anytime you have two people, for the love of all that is good, work together. You can have one person and have that discussion before and say, all right, I can facilitate, I'll flip through the slides, but can you be really in the chat and letting people into the wait room or out of the waiting room? Ask for that support and help each other. It also, Alex mentioned at the beginning, like it can be easy to be lazy on Zoom, and that's so real. If you are both having a role, if you know that even though you're not facilitating, you're in the chat, messaging young people, asking them questions, copy pasting the questions into the chat, letting people into the waiting room, letting people out of the waiting room, you're less likely to get disengaged and lazy. Use your co-facilitators, work together. One of my favorite things is to run tech. I love running tech for anyone's workshop. So at the very least, you can always ask me, but you can ask each other too. Someone will read the last one or the second to last one.
Youth can be creative tech support.
Oliver Henke from Russell saved my butt this summer because I didn't know how to use a whiteboard on Google Classroom. And he was like, no, Marlies, I got it. Use young people, ask young people, they are better. They are true technological natives. I always say they were prepared for this pandemic. They were already on house party. They were already group FaceTiming all their friends. They were ready. Go, ask them for support. Hey, does anyone know of a safe and appropriate website that we can use to play Boggle? They might know the answer.
I don't specifically, but I know one of my coworkers did play Boggle and it was pretty fun. But
I
get
played
it from
Boggle too. That was a terrible example because you literally just Google
Yeah.
Boggle. And the last one, Google is your best friend. If you don't know it, if you get stuck, if Zoom is not behaving in the correct way, there were a bunch of people in this room who said that they feel like there are 4. That's amazing. Ask them. They might not know. Ask Google. Don't ever feel like you can't fix it. Like, there's always an option. You might get stuck, but that's okay. There's resources and options out there. Play in those preferences. Make sense? And like I said, I'll share this presentation with you and we'll send out a document with expectations for Zoom. All right. How we doing? What time is it? Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna add some co-hosts to my party. Those of you who've worked with me before know I am corny as all get out. So come, we are now at a party. Who would like to co-host? You can try out something you've always wanted to do. If there's a Zoom trick or shortcut that's gotten you stuck before, you can try that. For folks on phones, you won't be able to do breakout rooms, but you can still be a co-host and try something. So, all right. So our last things, I just want to remind you of some resources. The Zoom website has some tutorials. I'll either know the answer to your question or I'll try to figure it out. Your teammates, a bunch of folks in here said that they were really comfortable on Zoom. Use them, ask them questions. We're all like a team now. We have to start acting like it. Google this presentation, this recording, and young people. Sometimes young people know. Be prepared and don't get spooked. Just because I will tell you all, my heart dropped when I realized that Zoom no longer automatically shows your Zoom window if you're sharing your whole screen. My heart dropped, but I didn't get spooked, so I was able to make screenshots and hopefully give you guys the gist of the walkthrough anyway. Don't get spooked. Sometimes the internet's going to be wonky. Sometimes Zoom will misbehave. Don't get scared. To check out, oh, Prezi, my love. One takeaway that you're going to carry with you today. If you feel like you didn't learn anything new, you can give us, your takeaway can be like, how are you going to support other people who might not be as comfortable with Zoom? I will also say that if you really wanted to get to try to do something and you didn't get to, I'll stay a couple minutes after if you want to. So a takeaway. Anyone can start and then choose the next person.
I can start. I learned how to do breakout rooms and join breakout rooms. So that's exciting.
Woohoo!
Because I haven't been a host before. But I will try to figure out if my sister can get this free access thing because that'd be cool.
And you got a Zoom account. Happy new Zoom account.
Yeah, that too. Pass it to Gina.
I'm definitely taking away all of the settings that I can turn off and on, depending on if I'm with kids or not. And thank you for sharing the profile settings. I didn't realize it was such a long list of things I needed to be paying attention to. So I will definitely be more aware of those. And I will pass it to Tyler.
All right. One thing I guess one takeaway from today is that we're able to shape the way the Zoom experience is going to be for the use.
I love the way you said that. We're like cultivating an experience. Love it.
Yep. Thanks. And I'll pass it to Marlon.
One thing I'm going to take away is just playing with Zoom on my off time. So, similarly, I had to do it with the G Suite over the summer. So I feel like now that we're using Zoom, I can, take some more of my me time and just play around with it.
We're all having a wild Friday night playing around with Zoom. I could see a way you could make it fun. You could tell like some friends or family, hey, I need you to join the Zoom so I can practice my breakout rooms. We're all gonna play Cahoots or Jackbox TV or something. You could make it fun. It could be a thing. I can see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Marlon.
And I will pass it to my guy, Byron.
Thank you, Marlon. Like you, I am going to, this has encouraged me to kind of switch over and use my mom's laptop, just seeing the limits that, you know, the iPhone or iPad bring. So I'm going to, like Marlon, I'm going to play around on my mom's laptop and kind of figure that out, because as hosts, I think it's going to be vital. And I will pass it to Lita.
Welcome, Franklin. Thank you, Byron.
All right. I learned a lot, but I have to say I enjoyed host and doing breakout rooms. I felt the sense of, like, I don't know, control. So that's what I'm taking. I actually mentioned earlier, I am super excited, kind of nerdy, but that's what my Friday night is going to consist of, maybe with a cup of wine, but I'll be playing with Zoom. And I am going to pass it to Tyler. Did you go yet? I don't think so.
I did.
Oh, you did? All right. Who didn't go? Show me hands.
Alex. Franklin may not have a takeaway, but me. Sorry,
Alex, it was you. I think I heard you.
For me, it'll just be to mess around and experiment once I have my computer to do it. I don't know who else has to go.
I think Alex.
Alex.
So it's me. All right. Something I'm taking away from this is, instead of like sitting there trying to figure it out, just go to settings, and like it'll just tell me how to do it.
Facts.
I was the last person, right?
Except for me.
Oh.
Gina, to answer your question, annotation is, you can turn it on so that like you all could be, I accidentally did it during Danny's training, if any of you were there. If I turn annotation on, you guys would be able to, like, either just me or all of you would be able to draw on this screen. I don't have it on right now. Franklin, you caught us right at the end of our thing, but I know you said that you get energy from Zoom. So do you have any tips for how to, like, enjoy Zoom more?
I mean, I think that just comes from me being like an extrovert and a super social person. So like I just get more energy with seeing other people and interacting people, even on Zoom, than I do sitting in my room alone. So
that's fair. That's real. Different people are going to have different types of reactions to Zoom. Guys, that's all I got. I'll stop recording.